Welcome to today's Ecosystem Incubator podcast. We're joined by Randi Seiff, CEO, President, and co-founder of Troon, who's one of our founding members and collaborators within the community space. Thanks for joining us and being here in our podcast. Welcome, Randi.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
You're totally welcome. Firstly, we start with the basics with all of our members. Could you tell us a little bit about your background and your current focus?
Sure. So, I've been a creative my whole life, trained as an artist, and then I landed in the fashion industry almost by accident. My dad actually, our family business was women's lingerie, and so he knew the company and, yada, yada, yada. Well, it was sort of a happy accident that I landed there. But I was very fortunate in that the company that I landed in kind of exposed me to all aspects of the business. So from design and product development to marketing to working in the showroom selling, and really I was exposed to every aspect of the business, and that sort of set me up with a great foundation because a lot of companies aren't like that anymore. And then, with years of traveling throughout Europe and all throughout Asia, getting all things made, it was just a great foundation and a way to learn the business. And I guess from leading into where I am today, I started to get very frustrated with the business for two main reasons. One was that the industry sort of likes to box you in. They like you to be either all design or all marketing or all production. And the truth of the matter is that I enjoy the full big picture of a brand and creating something from scratch and going from concept to completion and beyond. And so that was always a big frustration for me. The second thing was that every season we had to come up with a new collection. And that collection was never that different from the season before. And so I used to get super frustrated by that because it seemed like there was no purpose to it. There was just creating all of this waste for no reason. And so I guess about 15 years ago, a little more than that now, I went on my own, whereas before I had been working for lots of different companies, from large corporations to smaller family-run businesses. But I went on my own, and that allowed me to focus on the things that I felt were important. Still design, product development, branding, all of those things, but also able to work with whether large established brands or smaller entrepreneurial startups, and taking them from concept to completion, but always with a purpose behind what was being done.
Love that. I can really resonate, especially with the bit when you said that you're constantly designing season within season.
Yeah.
Massively change,
Yeah, nothing changes all that much. Yeah, I mean, it's still a jacket with two sleeves and a front closure, I mean, it's
Right?
whatever the product is. It doesn't change that much. So yeah, tons of waste being
Exactly, like loads of waste being collected, being created, and I didn't realize that you'd been doing this since birth, pretty much, right?
Well, I was trained as an artist, really. A lot of graphic design and a lot of fine art. And like I said, I did land in the fashion industry by a happy accident.
Yeah. No, that must have been fascinating seeing it change from from seeing your dad's age, from doing it right to what it's like now, right?
Night and day, night and day.
Oh, completely, right.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that's the thing, it's an evolution. And with Troon, you've been working with the concepts of overproduction, right? Like
Yes.
that kind of space of, why do we need to have the same collection over and over? Could we actually think about this in a different way? Could you tell me a little bit about that?
Sure. So, Troon, we're a global impact luxury brand, and we sit at that intersection of sustainability, fashion, philanthropy, and technology. And we want to exist to be that agent of change for the fashion industry and serve as a lighthouse for other companies to follow for the future of manufacturing. So we reduce waste and overproduction and returns facilitated by our technology. So everything is made on demand right from your phone. Casual everyday essentials are made in the customer's own body measurements, plus customizable design options. They'll see a 3D simulation right there on their phone. This all happens in less than a minute. And then it sort of travels through our digital ecosystem, if you will, on the back end, where it lands at the factory and it gets made and shipped within 2 weeks.
Fascinating. And that's very different to, what we've all been used to in the past of having to create, at least 300 pieces, if not more, right? To actually, create with the minimum order quantities and things. So with
on-demand manufacturing, we only produce what we sell. So there's zero inventory.
Yeah. And I think it's where the industry's going to, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that is really the future of manufacturing, and it's a new way of thinking too. It's a whole new mindset, which is difficult. Sometimes it's a hurdle that you have to get over, but slowly but surely, I think the industry will see that this is what is needed in order to reduce that waste and all that overproduction. It's in our current broken system, there's something like 150 billion ready-to-wear garments sold annually. Only 25% of those sell at full price, which is crazy. 45% sells on sale, and 30% goes completely unsold and most likely ending up in a landfill. And so with on-demand production, and where you only produce what you sell, there's nothing going to a landfill. You've eliminated dead stock completely. You've eliminated clearance sales, and you're only producing what you sell, so there is no unsold.
That's lovely. And that's what we want to do, is to not have the overproduction in the first place. So
that's right.
I love what you're doing on that. I mean, do you think there'll be any challenges in implementing this? I know that you're in sort of semi-early stages of sharing this customer base.
Yes, so we have not launched yet. We're looking to launch in the fall. There's lots of challenges because there are not a whole lot of on-demand factories to work with. That is a big challenge, is finding the right factories who can be our strategic partners in this and work with us in developing this model and scale our production.
Mm-hmm. And I love that you're saying partners, right? Rather than it being they're my suppliers or whatever, they're choosing to be a part of the journey with you, correct?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, that is how we really operate as a whole in everything. I mean, besides treating the planet as a stakeholder, and we are creating our own proprietary fabrics and materials and packaging with circularity as a key driver in the whole design process. The only reason we're able to do that with transparency and collaboration across the entire value chain, it has to be a strategic priority. Yeah. So, everybody that we collaborate with along the way is very strategic. We all have to have like-minded beliefs and values and see that this can be done, right?
Yeah, and I love that. And it really mirrors a conversation that I had recently with one of our manufacturing partners. They really want to see the change from within the manufacturing space. Sometimes even more so than some of the brands are kind of working with. So it's really nice to see, that the businesses want to be a part of this.
There's it's really this interconnectedness of all the parties along the entire value chain. if we all collaborate together, we will be greater as a whole. You know, that what is that saying? You're only the sum of, you're greater than the sum of its parts, or however that goes. It's something about seashells. I don't know, but it's like a group of seashells. One shell by itself is beautiful, but together a whole group of seashells is even more beautiful. Something along those lines is the analogy. But it's that we need more of this interdependence, because together we all succeed more. And working towards this more circular economy framework, and less of this current linear one. And by doing that, we will be able to achieve the scale that we all need to make it work.
100%, you're preaching to the converted here. Collaboration is obviously a huge part of our world, you know, and we are in collaboration ourselves, you know, being in the community together. So, you know, absolutely love it. So good. And do you think the future will look like what you're creating? Do you think that all brands, you know, would and should go to this model?
That's a tall order to say all brands, but I wish that. But the reality is that most of the industry does not work this way, because they're used to working the way that it's always been, with tons of inventory that they have to do something with it, right? Yeah. So, but there's other things that they can do. By using more planet positive materials in their textile and fabric selections, in their packaging, in the way that they transport their packaging, and in the new regulations that are coming, to be transparent about that with the digital passports, product passports, etc. So there's lots of sustainability compliance things that will be mandatory, that brands are going to have to adhere by, and that is going to make them accountable to certain standards, which is a good thing. So it's getting on the train now, rather than when while it's still in its gearing up phase, is better, so that you can get used to these new ways of working. And this way, when the regulations are set and you have to comply, you'll be ready.
I totally agree. And there's obviously lots of legislation coming through in the EU at the moment, and that will only just roll out to other countries. And if you're not ready, it's going to be a problem, isn't it? And you'll be completely ready, because you've got literally, it's kind of like a star brand here, that you're trying to do everything right. You're also looking at the fabrications as well yourself, and trying to find every aspect of the brand that will be, like a real showcase of what's possible.
Right, and thank you for saying that. That's exactly what we hope to be, is that lighthouse for other companies to kind of see that it can be done. We like to innovate at every touch point, and so even in our packaging, and how we are trying to use innovation in technologies with our packaging, and using a new seaweed technology, both for the paper packaging, using paper made with seaweed, but also we are beta testing the first replacement for poly bags using a seaweed film technology. And so it's really exciting seeing all the innovation that is going on all over the industry, from next-gen materials and fabrics and textiles to how it is expanding into packaging materials, and even into like dye stuffs and chemical processes that are not chemicals, that are planet positive, that have good effects for the planet and for people in the big picture of things.
Yeah, And I think it is really like a next gen brand, really, that you're trying to incorporate all of this newness, both in the fabrications and
Mhm.
the packaging and all of that kind of stuff, but also in this business model of reduction of overproduction and bringing in digital product passports. So it's a lot to
Yeah.
bring in, and I love that you're like really standing with it. So
Yeah,
good.
well, it's important, I think, and we're able to do it because we're small. You know, we're a startup. So when you're smaller, there are certain advantages to that. You can be quick to pivot and adjust, and evolve as things grow and scale. You can evolve with it, but it's not as easy for a larger established brand or for these big enterprises brands because they have so much inventory and so many layers of people. And so being a smaller company, it does have its advantages. And so we are able to um, innovate at every touch point. I mean, that's just kind of a passion point of mine, I guess. So it's something that we do, and that's kind of what fuels me every day to keep going.
I love it. And I'm definitely one for the small agile method as well to grow these new futures, because
Hmm.
it is just easier, not easy, but
Yeah,
it
yeah,
is more accessible to be able to do this in an agile, lean way than it is to transform a big beast of a company. It's possible, but in a different way, right?
yeah.
So,
And it will take a lot longer to do that. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Um, yeah, I love it. I'm really curious as well, like for you as an entrepreneur, or would you call yourself an entrepreneur, I suppose?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What experiences in life have most shaped you?
So I don't think there's one particular experience that, I think, like I said early on, that first company that I worked for, and I was there for a very long time and, worked my way up, but that gave me sort of a great foundation because I was exposed to every aspect of the business and I wasn't shielded from any of it. Um, but also it's a cumulative thing where I think you gain and learn from every experience you have at every company you go to, and you learn from mistakes. And sometimes those mistakes end up being big wins. Things happen by accident, and so there's lots of trial and error, and that's always great. Um, when I went on my own for a while, I was working outside of the fashion industry. I was working in hospitality actually for several of the high-end hotels in Las Vegas. And what I learned there was the creative process is exactly the same. Whether you're designing a line of clothing or a line of t-shirts, or you're designing a line of cocktail accessories for a high-end hotel, the creative process is exactly the same. And so that really opened my eyes to allow me to kind of dip my toe into different pools of arenas of different types of businesses. And so I dabbled outside of just like, the traditional fashion industry for a bit. And I was more working in hospitality or with sport and fitness, which happens to be a personal hobby of mine. So I got involved in that genre. And in working in hospitality, you're also involved with gourmet food and celebrity chefs. And so I was doing branding and product development for all of that genre too. And so it all still is design and product development and branding. It's just for different areas, but it really opened my eyes that it's all the same process.
I love that. And I mean that when you were talking about that, you came alive so much. It was like the dynamic way that you're co-creating this business with your co-founder is all of that embodied, right? Fascinating to hear, because I've never heard that before from you. So,
Yeah, it was. working in hospitality was a great experience, and it was like full of Las Vegas is just full of energy, and it's just a bubble. To me, it's just a bubble of just energy, in every way. And so I was working in apparel, I was working in jewelry, I was working in gourmet food, I was working in accessories, and even the mini bars in the rooms, and the decor of the restaurants, and working directly with the chefs, and it was all of that, and it was amazing.
It's fascinating. And it goes back to that bit that you said at the start, was like we're generally fitted, we're put inside of a box, or we're told to
Exactly.
specialize. Where actually,
Exactly.
when you've come out and you've created a more generalistic sort of view of things, you've come out and zoomed out and able to see other disciplines. Exactly what I've done as well is work with other disciplines and learned from other disciplines, not even in the fashion or even in the design space, and it's
Yeah.
really helped to be able to think in a systems way. So
Yeah, and there's always problems, right? But there's always a solution for every problem if you use creativity as the problem solving vehicle. So creativity, really, you can solve anything. And so even though it was not necessarily apparel, it was other types of products that I was working on for these high-end hotels. It was still all the same process. It was still design, it was still branding, it was still merchandising, it was still product development, it was still sourcing,
yeah,
it was still overseeing production. It was all of the same things. It was all of the things that we do in fashion, the same exact things, just for a different type of end result.
love it. And I love that you say as well that the creativity is this key, that we can overcome many problems with creativity. And I think it's something that gets missed a lot, right, in business,
Yeah.
because we can be thinking about the KPIs and, whatever the next thing is and stuff, when you're actually
Yeah.
like, let's be creative and create something, that is aspirational,
Hmm.
then the other things will come, So
Creativity is something that everybody should hone that skill, and I believe, because it doesn't matter whether it's in business or in life, which sort of merge the same, but it merges at somewhere at some point, right?
it's
But
fluid for me, yes.
it's all
In a
gnarled
sad way, in a
together.
gorgeous way.
But
Yes.
yeah, but creativity is something that is what's going to make you stand out. It's your ideas and how you execute on them. That's what's going to make you differentiate yourself or your work or everything from what everybody else is out there. That sea of sameness that's out there with everything, right?
100%. We need a point of difference,
Hmm.
anyway. And people are
Yeah,
trying to look for that. So it's like, actually,
yeah,
let the creativity flow, and I love it.
yeah. And gives you a reason to exist.
100%. It's gorgeous. I think, creativity led me to create the Ecosystem Incubator, you know.
Sure.
It was like, actually, not just as much as the collaboration, it was like, actually, is this possible to create a system where people can start to collaborate
Hmm.
together? So the ecosystem is about collaboration, right?
Yeah, yeah,
What
and it's
have
totally
you had
creative.
some great experiences of collaboration?
So I think a great example of collaboration is something we're doing at Troon with our Project Halo.
Hmm.
And Project Halo is, of course, it's a capsule collection designed with circularity in mind, but it's also part of a larger concept that exemplifies our belief in a circular future. So our Project Halo is a unisex capsule. It's a t-shirt, a sweatshirt, and a hoodie, but it's more than that. A halo is a circle of light by definition, right? So we like to say our halo shines to redefine luxury fashion. And in collaboration with different stakeholders, we can together be a catalyst for change. And what I mean by that is for example, the fiber that we're using to create the fabric with for our project Halo Fabrics. We created a proprietary blend made with circulose and hemp. And so we have it in a jersey and a French terry for the t-shirts and the sweatshirts. And so the fiber we used, we're a partner with Renewcell for that brand partner. We partnering with the mill to then knit this yarn made with our new blend into our fabric. In order to sew the garments together, we're partnering with a special thread, that a company that makes a special thread, I should say, that is meant for disassembly, so that the garments can be circular after their life is end of use. We're partnering with to dye the color black, a bio-based material made of wood waste. So that company is a stakeholder in this also. And then finally, the packaging for this project Halo. It's coming in its own case that we designed from scratch with a paper made of seaweed. And then inside that case sits a replacement for a poly bag, like I mentioned earlier, that is made of a seaweed film, and the garments sit inside that bag. And the packaging is all biodegradable, and actually it can actually dissolve in water too. So that's, I think, a great example of how together we can all make a difference in our goal towards circularity if all the different industry stakeholders work together and collaborate to create this product.
Yeah, I love it. And you were also collaborating with some artists, was it, as well? Like, quite interesting.
Yeah, so that's one of my co-founders is a world-renowned painter. His name is Kirill Gelyazkov, and he's a world-renowned painter, as I said. But part of our go-to-market strategy is we align with different foundations and charities, and we sponsor large-scale events and artist collaborations through the sale of our luxury collections. And for those foundations and how we align with them is we prioritize 4 planet impact areas, one being soil and land, the second one is oceans, the third one is wildlife, and the fourth is humanitarian. And so what Kirill has done for some of these collaborations that we've had is create a series of artworks or a series of paintings, and we give back to these foundations through either auction of the paintings or donations, plus a portion of the proceeds of the garments themselves that we create for these special events.
It's gorgeous. No, it's lovely to hear all of the partnerships that are going on there, you know.
There's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot
to organize. Hang on, my mic went funny. Pause a minute. Settings. Audio. Oh, it's fine. Sorry. I think the mic came out. And of course, like in the incubator, you know, we're all about collaboration. I mean, what do you see possible as we grow? You've been with us for a while now, you know, so
yeah. I mean, I think that space is great because there's people coming in from all different industries and with all different parts of the fashion industry too. So I think the most important thing is to keep the communication going, because that leads to collaboration. And if we just keep thinking how we can innovate at every touch point and turning problems into solutions with opportunities for collaboration, and communication is really the way to get there. Because I don't know, it just seems like whoever I'm speaking with, there's always some point of intersection where we connect on something, and there's a way to collaborate on something quite often, more often than you'd think.
Oh yeah, more often. And the amount of synergies that are now just coming up,
right,
via the incubator, via other avenues, because I've been connecting with people for a long time, and that now the work is starting to intertwine, which is very beautiful to see. So
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
loving it. And the last question is, like, if someone was starting out creating a brand like you had to or wanted to, what suggestions and top tips would you give to them?
I always like to say progress over perfection, and it's something that I have a hard time following myself. I tend to want everything to be perfect all the time, and that's wrong. So don't do as I do as I say, right? But really, I think that's a great thing, a great narrative to follow is progress over perfection, and don't be afraid to fail. You can always learn, and you can fall forward, as they say. And sometimes mistakes lead to the biggest wins. And I can give you a story about that. Many, many years ago, I was at a factory, I think in Hong Kong at the time, and we were making a line of activewear, and it was some fleece garments for production. This is not for Troon. This is in a past life, many moons ago. And we were at the laundry, and we were washing all the production, and it turns out, and this was during the sampling process, and it turns out they made the garments backwards. And so they put the fleece side of the fabric on the outside instead of on the inside. And we had these intricate embroideries and graphics that were embellishing these garments, and they were fairly expensive garments. And so, but what happened was, after it came out of the wash, the fleece itself got, because it was a special, because of the special construction of the specific fleece it was, the fabric and the fleece got such a beautiful texture of like this matted poodle-like like pile or bulk or softness. I can't explain it well, but it ended up being then that we changed everything in the collection, and we then produced the whole collection inside out, essentially, based on this mistake that was made, and it ended up being phenomenal. And we ran this fabric inside out like that for like many, many years. I mean,
wow.
I went on to develop it for like, or versions of it at other places too, because it was just incredible. And so you just never know.
100%. You never know. Sometimes it can become we would call it in our real circularity work, a processional benefit.
Yeah,
It's created something that actually became a benefit, even though you think, what?
Yeah. So,
that's great. I love that. Oh, well, thank you, Randi, for sharing with me today. It's been absolutely fascinating. And I've loved your journey and the way that you shared, especially about the accumulation journey, of building things over time and understanding that this life is about not just what you're doing now, but a journey of the whole time. So I just really love that part.
It's something that I think we all take with us in life. All our experiences contribute to our future, and good or bad, and everything has value.
It's us, even an inside out fleece. Absolutely.
Yes, that's right.
So thank you again. Thanks for joining us. So,
thank you.
Thank you. And so to get maximum value, don't miss out. Make sure to register, subscribe, and find out more about our podcasts and other resources at theecosystemincubator.com.